was saying about the kid though is she'll get out, she'll just go and she'll just poop or pee and she won't tell you anything. And then she'll like pull up her pants and just go about the day like it's nothing, but she doesn't wipe anything. She doesn't like clean anything. So what she'll do with the bath is she will, like, I'll put her in the bath, then I'll go clean the house or whatever. She'll have to poop. She'll get out. She'll poop. She'll get back in the bath without any sort of maintenance whatsoever. And then she's so proud. When I come to get her out, she'll just start pointing at the toilet. And I'm like, oh, no. And I'll be like, did you poop in the potty? She's like, yeah, I pooped in the potty all by myself. And then she's just soaking in mud.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Time to get your fix. It's a horrible gaming podcast. It's not good, it's not great. Horrible gaming podcast. It's not even what you would call fair. It's really not that good. Horrible Gaming Podcast.
Hello, my name is Zachariah Van Sliders, the Old Man Gaming, and welcome to a Horrible Gaming Podcast. We are in episode 31. Every time that number goes up, I'm just more and more amazed. With me for the bulk of the show today is
Logan, aka Knight645.
That's right, and we're using the full power of the Quantum Studio from now on to get both of you on the show. And by the full power of the Quantum Studio, what I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to edit it together so that one of the topics I discuss with Neil, and he also is we're gonna open the Horrible Arena with him, and then we're gonna go into the stuff with us. So it's gonna kind of seem like he's on the same show, and we have a mission statement of honesty here. So I just want to be upfront that we're still only editing out the stuff in between the segments. And we're still going to do a cold open of some sort with one of those. But for the most part, you're still hearing everything. It's just we've got to get a little tricky to get all three co-hosts on. So with that disclaimer out of the way, we're terrible at this. No more so than today. So you're definitely going to hear my kid in the background or doing something crazy in the bath. We're not going to go back and edit it because we are terrible. You've been warned. We also want to give a couple credits. Mark Bell, he does all the graphics for this and every other OMG show that you have seen. So anything original that is. So thank you, Mark Bell, to that. And of course, the theme song for this show is written and performed by my brother, Nicholas Van Siders. Thank you to him for that. All right, so we start the show with fan interaction. That's where we, the people behind the show, talk to you, the people behind the comments. We try and read you guys' comments. We try and ask you questions. And we also decide winners of the Horrible Arena. So, I don't know, Logan, did you get to listen to last week's podcast?
I have not gotten the opportunity.
You're fucking fired. No, I'm just kidding. So we had two pitches. Those two pitches, it was narrative. It was an independent narrative game. And it was a definite rough one. We had Neil pitched Prism, which is kind of a color-based role-playing game, which was very interesting. It's very hard for me to explain it now secondhand, so I just advise you go back and look at it. And then I pitched Project Marital, which would be a game about basically it would procedurally generate a couple. And then you could play either the man or the woman in the couple. And then the game itself was all about just like keeping your marriage together and dealing with stuff as it came along, like kids and losses of jobs and housing changes and stuff. And the idea behind it being that I don't think anybody understands what real marriage is out there. And as a dude who's been married for 10 years, I really would like something a little bit more realistic than like your bachelors and bachelorettes and stuff like that. Not that those aren't really fun to watch. It's just, it's not what real long lasting love is. So that's what was my pitch. And we did not actually get a lot of votes on this one. This was the first one where we didn't get a ton of votes. So What I will read out is we had the one vote we did get was from one of the Foundation 4 members, and that was Phil Billy. He voted horrible arena vote. I want to state ahead of time that this week's vote is a tough one for me, as the indie games have never been my thing, as most of them don't personally interest me, so I probably wouldn't personally play either of these games. Parentheses, no offense to anyone out there, just not my thing. That being said, I would place my vote for the Marital game, as I think it might actually help open up the eyes of younger people in the give and take of relationships. Hold on, there's more. Oh, no, there isn't. And he's been married for some time as well. So there was. So I guess I'm winning. I guess I'm winning with a one vote. Since you didn't listen, I can't go to you to try and tie it up. So
True.
guess I'm winning with one vote. So yay me. Back on top. So then we're just gonna read out the comments now. There wasn't a whole lot of comments actually, which is surprisingly enough. I know we got at least one other comment. I'm gonna find it. Oh, lack of preparation. Oh, yes, we got one more comment from Phil Billy. He was very loquacious last week. I have to throw my 2 cents with the ninja thing. So I agree with you. So I agree that you have to be competitive and passionate and try to learn from your mistakes and losses. If you are a professional in gaming, and this applies to anyone, you are a professional at. However, the problem is Ninja generalized his comments, implying that if anyone loses and doesn't become angry, that they are a weak person. But look at it this way. I'm not a professional at basketball. Heck, I'm not even good. So if I play a game in the park with my friends and I lose, I'm not going to be mad because I had a good time, and that's why I went to play in the first place. That being said, my huge problem with Ninja and a lot of other streamers is that my problem with Ninja and a lot of other streamers, and I think this hurts the public's opinion on gaming, is when some of these streamers lose, they break keyboards and throw tantrums, breaking desks. And this behavior actually angers me because of how pathetic and unprofessional this behavior is. It would be equivalent if LeBron James losing a game, laying down the middle of the court, kicking and screaming. Can't disagree with that. I think that I don't want to retread territory, but if you're a professional at anything, model at anything, and you need to conduct yourself accordingly. It's that simple. So, I mean, aside from Ninja did get really angry. I don't think he threw or broke keypads, but I am totally against that stuff. I think that stuff is ridiculous and childish, and I'm definitely not going to be subscribed or following any account where I see a dude acting like a 5-year-old when he loses. It's just ridiculous. There's no words for that. On a side note, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, besides Ninja, if you do go down to the park, I'd cross you up. Don't worry. Anyway.
I know. I don't think it's kind of interesting that he said basketball. I was like watching that. I'm like, I don't think he knows that Logan is so into basketball. Or like, I don't think he knew at that time. I think you guys talked about it the last time
Yeah, I think we talked about it last time. Just a little bit.
Yeah. But I think it was after he posted that comment.
Yeah.
So the other thing I wanted to discuss, so Neil asked this question a couple of weeks ago of how many video games do you own? Like, what's the size of your collection?
Ooh.
And like nobody answered. I even had a hard time answering because it's hard to differentiate like what I've bought once or twice. You know what I mean? Because I'm a wheeler and a dealer, so I'll buy a game new and then I'll trade it in and then I'll get it again on like Games Pass. And it's like I can't remember, you know what I mean, where I got it first, whether I should count that twice. But Neil went crazy. And counted up every game he's ever owned. And I also thought he was talking about this gen. He was talking about every gen ever. So he
every
yeah, he counted up every game he has ever owned. He not has ever owned, but he counted up every game he owns. He excluded anything that came from a subscription service. And he was like, he told me today, because he actually recorded his segment before we were recording with Logan. He actually told me today, he's like, I don't want this to be for nothing. I want you to tell them, because I really worked at this and counted it out. He owns 340 games.
Holy crap.
Yeah, I know. I was like, I will make sure to read that because that's insane. I've played probably more than 340 games, but
Yeah, probably.
to own that many, that's nuts. So, a tiny wizard, we tip our hats to you in the department of game ownership. I don't know, Logan, do you have any questions you want to ask the fans out there for comments?
Okay, so for fan interaction for next week, you mean?
Yeah, I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I'm just wondering, curious if you got anything on the tip of your tongue.
I do not have one on the tip of my tongue. If you have one, go ahead.
I don't really have one.
We're so perfect.
Yeah, I know. This is good. This is good radio right here. Good radio.
Good radio.
You know what? I do want to ask one. It comes off. We just posted this morning the season 2 finale of Borderlands 3.3.0, and in it we talk about like what you want out of the next generation system. And I don't want to ask that because we've kind of asked that before. What I want to ask is, how important is graphics to you? Because we had this huge crazy debate, because I don't think graphics matter anymore. Like, we're at a point where they look good enough even when they don't look good. You know, like, I don't necessarily need photorealistic. Like, if the game plays good, I'm a happy camper. But IGN took a poll of people, and the majority of people said that that's the thing they want the most is better graphics, which is insane to me. Like, how do you want it to be better? So I want to see out there if I'm just out of touch. Like, how much do graphics matter to you guys out there? Let us know in the comments below, or on Facebook, or on Twitter, or on our Discord. That's right. I want to give a special shout out to our Discord. Logan, aka Knight645, is running it. Yes, we have a Discord. It will the link will be in the comments below, and I want to make sure that that's mentioned. Join it. You can talk directly to us. You can influence the shows. You can do your arena voting there. You can also give shout outs of reviews that you want me to tackle on our review show, and I'll try and take them on. Like, we want you to comment. We want you to be part of it. So please join our Discord and contribute to the conversation. We'd love to see you guys there. All right, so moving on, we're going to get into the first topic, and it's a topic I'm very upset about. Logan doesn't actually know what it is because it wasn't in our podcast scheduling material beforehand. I'm kind of pulling an audible on this one because I'm really upset about it. So recently, they redid Xbox Quests. So what Xbox Quests are is you do stuff in video games or play certain video games, and you get points towards your Microsoft Rewards account. That and Microsoft Rewards, I think I've mentioned it a few times on the podcast. It's kind of like you can cash it in for gift cards towards digital games and Games Pass and stuff like that. It's actually how I get Games Pass for the majority is I make sure I do all these quests, I get the points, and then I use the points to kind of get a month free, every month.
Mm-hmm.
So they redid the quests recently, like 2 weeks, beginning of February, they redid the quests. They redid it really well, Logan, like really well. Before it was just kind of this like random thing, and it was like play 3 ID at Xbox game. Like, it wasn't really great, but they kind of like streamlined it towards Games Pass. They put it in your achievement section with the new update, and then basically you could get 30 points every day because of 2 daily challenges, and they were just play a Games Pass game and log into Games Pass Mobile. Then there were weekly challenges and monthly challenges. The monthly challenges usually being get so many weekly challenges, and the weekly challenges would be either like big things you had to do in a game, or they'd be like get so many daily challenges, or they'd be like download so many Games Pass games. And these things would give out like a good amount of points, okay? I would wager too many points because I got a lot last month because I did basically everything, and I got a lot.
Okay.
Well, they just released March's list of quests, and they cut all the points down, which I was expecting, but they cut it from 100. They cut it by 90%. So if you were getting 100, if you were getting 100 points from something, you're getting like 10. And that's for the whole month. So this really cool incentive program for Games Pass, for playing Xbox period, just became useless, basically. Like, you could get in the month of March, I think I counted it up, you can get like a total of 1,000 points. Now, just for you to know, it takes roughly, well, they've kind of messed with how they do the gift card structure quite a bit, but it takes roughly like 160 points to get like $1.
Okay. So you'd get like $10 if you did everything in the month.
Yeah. You know what? Actually, that's not even right. I think 1,000 would be closer to $1. Yeah, 1,000's closer to $1. So like 9,000 points is really needed to get a month of Games Pass.
Okay.
So it'd be like 1,000 is $1, basically. So
1,000 in a month.
Yeah, and it was, you could get like last month you could get 2,000, 2,500, and honestly, that's not that bad considering you can also get these points from searching on Bing and from doing some other things. There's also like a weekly set, they call it, on Xbox, where like they give you 3 different tasks each week. Each task gives you 40 points, and then if you keep it going, it gives you this big bonus every so often. So that wasn't too bad, but like to cut it down to what they cut it down to, it's absolutely non-existent. It's like it doesn't even matter now. Like, they took down the ones that were giving you 15 every day now only give you 5.
Okay.
The ones that were giving you like 100 before on the weeklies give you 10.
So
like,
you really can't do anything with it.
Yeah, it's such a drop in the bucket. It's such a drop in the bucket that it's useless, like nearly useless. And granted, when they did the update, they made it a lot easier to acquire the points, because like a lot of the tasks were like play 5 Xbox Games Pass game. You didn't actually have to play them. You just needed to boot them up. So like I would just like, so there was a couple where I just sat down and I was like, that's Xbox Games Pass game. I'd start it. Then I immediately switched to another one. I immediately switched to another one. And I got like a monthly quest in the course of like 10 minutes. But still, so I figured they were going to reduce it. Like, I understand they needed to reduce it, but they reduced it so much that it's almost like a why bother situation at this point.
Do you think that they're going to change it back, or not back to what it was, but back to something better?
I don't know. I think really, like, I like the system. I like what they've put in play. I think what they need to do is just balance the points better. Like, they almost pulled like an old school Realm Royale overcompensation. So like
overcompensation.
Right. Like it was like they're making too many points. Okay, shut them down. And like
shut them down. Shut it all down.
It is a really cool idea. Like, I will say some of the tasks in any of these don't really make sense to me that much. Like the daily task of open the Games Pass app. Like, I'm not going to do anything in that app. I'm just going to open it. Like, I'm going to open it on my phone. I'm going to get the points. I'm going to be done. Like, what does that do for you? Like, do you think that somebody's going to open it and then immediately be, like, sucked in by whatever's on the screen? Like, is that the goal? I don't know.
The quest that they're after.
I would rather they turned up the point amount back to what it was, or even a little bit higher, and force you to, like, play those games for a little bit. I would be okay with that. Like, if they were like play like, instead of play 5 different Xbox Games Pass games, it was play 5 different Xbox Games Pass games for 5 minutes, you know? Then they force you to be in the game for a period of time, you know, and then the points, like, jack the points back up, you know? But it's, you know, we're very Xbox centric on this podcast, and I think there's probably people out there that think we're biased to Xbox, and it's something really negative I wanted to point out. Like, it's not a good thing. I'm very upset about it. They gave everybody this like sweet deal, and then they just took it away so fast without even balancing it at all.
Yeah, I can't say too much on it since I've never done it, but that seems like overkill for them to change something so drastically, especially when like it was enjoyed. Except for they obviously had to change it a little bit because they have to make profit. But
right. Like, and I get that Games Pass is already a value. Like, I understood that they needed to do something with it because I made a lot of points last month. But like, to axe it that much, it almost makes it not worth it. You know what I mean? And and they got a lot of praise. They got a lot of praise for that quest system. When it went up last month on Twitter, they got a lot of praise. Now, I haven't seen a lot of backlash from this yet, which is kind of frustrating on my point and why I feel like I should say something, but I'm a wheeler and dealer with video games. Like, that's how I roll, and they can't seem to get this system right,
I feel you.
So I just wanted to mention that before we continue. All right, so that brings us to our next little topic that I want to talk about, and I want to make sure Logan was on for this one. So recently, an analyst, a video games analyst, website called SuperData, basically made a report that Fortnite was losing its player base and losing its earnings. This is just what they do. They have a metric. No one knows what it is, but they're just like a data kind of analyst sort of thing. They're just analyzing Fortnite and analyzing that it's losing some earnings. Epic actually kind of went a little crazy on this, came back at them, and basically said that SuperData does not have access to any of Fortnite or Epic's numbers. Epic and Fortnite's numbers are not public, so whatever they are basing this on is false. And completely, I think they said something like completely fabricated or pure fantasy or something kind of insulting. To which SuperData surprisingly actually fired back and said, we have a trusted metric we've used the entire time, and that's what we're using. So let's discuss, Logan. Fortnite. I think it's weird that they fought this so hard. Not going to lie.
I think this entire thing is just so weird.
Yes.
Like,
go ahead.
Okay. There's been talks about Fortnite slowing down, dying, all this blah 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 blah. Except for let's speak facts. It's an old video game. Start losing players eventually, and that's not a bad thing. That's just the cycle.
Yeah.
So yeah, and of course those are the diehard fans, which every game has, that will play it forever. But with this game, of course, a lot of them are kids with short attention spans that aren't going to stick with this for a long time. And so it's weird that they came back so hard, I guess, because there's been so many people that are like, it's dying, blah, blah, blah. It's just like, okay. Even if it's losing player base, its player base is still so far above a lot of other games that it's not really a worry. But like, there's a couple games contending for it, but I think we agree at all times it is at least a top 5 game out there, like in player base numbers.
I don't think that they've dropped in any significant way that they should think of themselves in trouble. I think there is a natural cycle to video games. Honestly, the weirdest thing about this generation of video games, this console generation of video games, is this mentality that these games should be playable for the rest of your life. Like, we're kind of in that section now where that's like the thought process.
It seems like it. Definitely seems like it.
Yeah, and I think that's just I think that's just so weird that like when I was a kid, you bought a game, you beat the game, then you traded the game back in. Like now it's like if the game loses any numbers, people go crazy. And I think one of the weirdest parts about this is that Epic fought back so hard. Like how long has Fortnite been around? It's been around for like 6 years, right? Like the fact that it's still one of the most played games and it's been around that long, it should be a testament, you know?
Oh yeah, for sure.
So I don't know. I think it's really weird that Epic fought back so hard. I think even Super Data was surprised by it. Like,
okay, and Super Data, like I don't know too much about them, and I think that's where it stands out. That it isn't like a huge company like coming at them. It's this other company that's like, hey, they're dying. That's like if I just came out and was like, hey, Ryan Reynolds is a terrible actor, and he actually came to my house and fought me. Like that. That's what it is.
That is exactly it. I think it's really super weird too. I don't even feel like their original statement was like, oh, they're dying. I think they were just like, hey, they've lost some players. And like Epic was like, I will kill you. And they were like, what?
Literally what happened.
Like, you haven't lost players? You're saying you've got the same amount of players? And that was a gross overreaction. Yeah, I don't understand the going after him, you know?
Fully agree. It was just like they put that out there, and some people looked at it and were like, okay, that's cool, whatever, and looked past it. And then Epic Games just jumped on them, and that's what made it big.
Right. Just they went hard on him, and it was like, what is going on?
Why didn't they just ignore it? Like,
right.
You're shut up and take the money.
Right. You're Fortnite. Like, why do you care? Like, I just feel like we're Fortnite.
Especially with their newest season has Borderlands characters, actual Borderlands characters, and they have Deadpool. Like, they have so much money just going into this game. They have outside world going into this game. Like, you have nothing to be scared about.
No, and I think again, I think it's super weird that like they're truly worried about like the dip in player base for such a long game. Like, I don't know. I've never played a game that long. Never, you know? And the fact that they still have it, the fact that they're still relevant, who cares what some analyst company says? It's very strange. It's very strange. Well, I think we covered that. All right, that brings us to With My Last Breath. This is a fun segment I like to do where one of my co-hosts give me a subject and they tell me how they would like me to rant on it, whether it be positively or negatively. And then I get 1 minute and I get to put together the best rant that I can put together. And then they give me a letter grade, and I've been keeping track of them. So it's a fun little segment because I do like to rant. So Logan is going to be choosing it this week. Logan, what's the subject, buddy?
Tell me why Apex Legends was made instead of Titanfall 3 and why Titanfall 3 should have been made instead of Apex Legends. That's your argument. Why Titanfall 3 should have been made instead of Apex Legends.
Oh, you want me to argue for Titanfall 3 over Apex Legends?
Yes.
Okay. All right, let me put that together in my head for a second.
Take your time. This better be good.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Give me a countdown when you're ready.
3, 2, 1, go.
All right, so let me get this straight. Instead of making the trilogy complete, instead of making the final game, instead of making the sequel to world-renowned Game of the Year nominee, you've instead decided to copy a Battle Royale system. That's right. No Titanfall 3. We're going to make another Battle Royale. You've already got Fortnite. You've already got PUBG. You got Cuisine Royale. You got every other one of those ones on mobile. But yeah, we're going to do that instead of give you the final game in this series. Not only are we going to do that, but in Apex Legends, we're going to dumb down the movement. That's right. The movement you really love from Titanfall 2, it's not going to be there in total. So you're going to feel like it's lacking. It's going to be there just enough so that people who didn't play Titanfall 2 are really going to think Apex Legends did something amazing with the movement, but it didn't. Titanfall 2 did it better and first. And instead of making that third one, we made Apex Legends. We're also going to make that game about being in a team. So you have to get stuck with 2 other people who are going to be inevitably better than you, and they're going to talk about it the entire time, how much better than they are than you, how much you suck, no matter how many people you kill, no matter how many things you pick up for them, no matter how many times you revive them, they're just going to tell you how much you're terrible, and they're good. So you can't play solo. You can't get them to shut up. You know what? I don't need the rest of my time. There it is. Make Titanfall 3. Fuck Apex Legends.
Yes! Yes! A+. Give it to him. That was the best thing I've ever heard.
That's my first A+. That's my first A+ right there.
Yes!
You know what's really funny? Now, post of it, we can really get into it. I never even played Titanfall 2, so I really feel like I was just channeling you.
Yes, you were, and you need to play Titanfall 2 eventually, or Titanfall 1. Both of them are amazing.
I'll play one of them eventually, I'm sure. Still, I felt like I was channeling you on that one. I took all the times you had ever ranted about why Titanfall 2 is better, and I stuck it into 50 seconds.
There you go. Literally,
right.
I had a rough day, and that just made my entire day listening to someone else rant about Titanfall 3. Yes.
I'm very proud of that. I'm very proud of that. Thank you, Stella. Thank you. And thank you for being so loud during all of that. Okay. So that brings us to our next topic. And for this next topic, I'm going to be switching over to Neil, a tiny wizard. Welcome to the Quantum Studio.
Oh, why, thank you.
We're making some magic happen with the Quantum Studio. We upgraded it so we can literally jump back and forth to the location where a tiny wizard and Logan are. That's how we're going to explain it. So
a very small location.
Yeah. So everybody out there, you're never going to hear them at the same. Eventually you'll hear them at the same time, but we're going to get everybody into the show at once. So our third topic, I want to talk about exclusive identity. And what I really want to discuss, and I want to discuss this with Neil because he does have such a wide verse on the systems, wider than me and Logan, is right now Xbox is looking to get back into the exclusive game. That's been their biggest downside. That's been their biggest hit so far, is that they don't have any real exclusives. You've got like Gears and you've got the Forzas, and that's it. Whereas PlayStation has really established themselves with exclusives as kind of like gritty, narrative, kind of meaner, darker stories. While Switch has gone kind of a different route. They have some beloved characters, but it's a little bit more lighthearted. It's a little bit more family friendly, I guess would be the best way to say it. So we're about to hit the Xbox. We're about to see Xbox's identity, and what I want to ask is that important? Do you think?
I would say that it's definitely important. I mean, the phrase "software sells hardware" has always been something that's been within the industry. Right. We have, like you said, Microsoft this past generation, who has not really had that much of a showing at all, which actually prompted them to buy up all of those studios. So right. I think this next generation, they are going to set themselves up pretty well. But then you have something like Sony, who is known for their strong first-party lineup. Not known exclusively for their first-party lineup, but known for having those really strong, like you said, narrative stories, those very strong, high quality, I should say, like games as well. And then you have something like Nintendo, who, let's be honest, it is so integrated within pop culture. People who don't even play games know who Mario is, you know,
that's right.
Stuff like that. So I think the exclusive situation absolutely is something that needs explored 100%, and it needs considered.
I got some nervousness, honestly, on the Xbox exclusives coming out with regards to the identity. I mean, there are people out there who I'm sure are like, we really just need those single player, narrative driven, gritty experiences that PlayStation gives us, you know. But I feel like Xbox is okay. So I feel like Xbox isn't necessarily giving us just that. I feel like Xbox has bought up just this wide range of studios, and just their exclusives are ranging from everything from mascot platformers and Ori to, looter shooters. You know what I mean? Like, I don't feel like they have that identity, and I don't know. I guess I don't know if that's going to hurt them in the long run, because I would prefer them to have an identity of a more multiplayer forward online experience. I think that that's what they do the best. Whether or not that's anybody's thing, I kind of feel like that's what Xbox has down. I think Xbox's online capabilities are better than the other systems. I think their services in that regards are higher end, and I would rather them take advantage of what they are doing and kind of like make that identity. But it almost feels like they're not doing that. I feel like they're trying to like, well, we need a Nintendo game, and we need a PlayStation game, and we need this game. You know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong on that. Maybe I'm just reading too much into it.
I think it is worth considering also, not necessarily even just the first party stuff, but how the third party stuff even fits into the consoles. Like, there's always been that sort of the exclusivity, or coming to, you know, Xbox first or PlayStation first. Call of Duty is one of those things where originally everything was coming to Xbox first. Well, now in this recent generation, they've shifted, and now it's shifted over to PlayStation first. And it almost makes you wonder why it is that they made that shift in the first place. Sure, it could be money, it could be something along those lines, why they made that deal to begin with, but I think personally that shift has something to do with the fact that Microsoft, again, did not have a very strong showing this generation. No. I do think with all of those studios that they bought up, I mean, they've even said, it's like, hey, you're not going to see anything from these for a while, but I think that roughly the start of this next generation, once they start having these new titles come out, probably in 2021, we're going to start seeing the fruits of that labor, and then we can reevaluate if that was a good move or not on Microsoft's part.
Well, I have to do what everybody loves that I do, and that's disagree with you. I actually think we're going to... I know.
Heresy.
They're fighting. Oh, everybody get excited. What's going to end up happening is I'm going to say something, we're going to end up agreeing again. That's how it always
Probably, yeah.
We build it up, and then we don't actually fight with each other. I think the first wave is coming now. We are seeing right now, in this month alone, we have the second Ori game. Granted, that's always been an Xbox game, so I shouldn't be counting it, but we're seeing that. Then we're going to see the updated State of Decay 2, which I'm super excited about. And we're going to see that post the buy. So we're going to see all the stuff that they were able to do to it with the Microsoft money. Then we're going to see Bleeding Edge, which is an Xbox exclusive. That's not coming to PlayStation. I mean, and everybody out there, when I say Xbox exclusive, I mean console exclusive. Xbox has parity with all of their computer system, with PCs as well. So I don't think any of their games are really only coming to the Xbox, but I'm talking console exclusive. We're going to be seeing those right off the bat. I mean, that's 3 right there. Grounded is coming out the Grounded early access is going to be coming out in spring, and we're seeing, well, the other one isn't really a studio, so we're not going to be seeing that. But still, I feel like we're getting a first wave of this. We're getting the initial shockwave of this, and I feel like there is no theme to it. There is no, this is what we want to produce in our exclusive games. And I don't know if that's going to hurt them or not. I mean, like I said, I could be reading into it, but Nintendo, when you think to yourself, I want good exclusives with family-friendly kind of outcome, you go to Nintendo. You get the Marios, you get the Zeldas, you get all this stuff like that, and you know nobody's going to take their top off and blood isn't going to shoot out of their face. If you think to yourself, and when you think to yourself, I want a gritty, narrative-driven, not necessarily open-world game, one-player experience, then you're probably thinking PlayStation. You want The Last of Us. You want the Gods of Wars. You know, that's what you're looking for. Xbox doesn't have that. The thing is, though, is Xbox does have a reputation with online multiplayer and shooters. Gears of War and Halo, so I feel like they should almost be leaning in to that instead of trying to copy the others. And I almost feel like they bought just a ton of studios out of panic, and now they have no no identity when it comes to an exclusive. And I that might be good. I just don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good thing, appealing to a broad audience, but I'm thinking, like, each platform has its issues when it comes to exclusives.
Right.
Like, Microsoft's has only really developed somewhat recently. I mean, in the Xbox 360 generation, we had stuff coming out, you know, our Halos, stuff like that. We had Fables coming out at a very regular interval. I mean, the Xbox One generation, we have not had much of that. And now it's they've developed this crisis, the identity of not having any first-party exclusives, really. And I think I think while those other games that are going to be coming out this year might be, you know, definitely leading into it, I think the big quake in all of that is going to be when Halo Infinite comes out. And I think that's going to set the benchmark of, hey guys, Microsoft is back, but that's also going to be a comparison point because it's going to be their first major first-party AAA title since the most recent Gears game.
Right.
And then you have something like with Sony, who's been fairly reliable and, like you said, are known for their single-player first-party stuff. Your Spider-Man, God of War, and Horizon also as well.
Right,
But though that's on PC now, so I don't know if we can technically, well, not now, but is coming to PC.
I don't.
So
count
I've heard,
PC, and I know I'm going to get yelled at for that. I don't count PC, not because I don't think it's a viable video game option. I do. I'm just saying when you're talking about the console war, I don't think anybody in the console war is thinking about PC as. No. You know what I mean? And that's why I don't really consider them. I think when they're, I mean, I guess Phil Spencer doesn't consider anybody but Amazon and Google from his comments, but but I think when you're talking about Xbox, Nintendo, PlayStation, like the console, they're not thinking about PC. PC is its own thing. So
yeah, and I think Sony's problem that they have is, I don't want to say that their stuff is too good, because it is really good. I mean, I've played through all of the major first-party stuff. I mean, I played a little bit of Spider-Man, but I finished God of War. I finished Horizon Zero Dawn. You know, those games, and they are fantastic, and I'm absolutely like, okay, I'm ready for more. And people know that they're coming, but I think because of the hype behind those games and how well they're received, that hype train is so much of a detriment to themselves. Like you have Last of Us Part 2, once it got announced. I mean, people have been clamoring for that, and it's been delayed multiple times, and I think people are just too ready for that sequel that they don't let other things happen.
Yeah, that's true. I agree. They get PlayStation also has a bad tendency to reveal things early. Way too early, and I think that's a big issue for them. Just as a company, they need to. I like that I like that Xbox seems to, like, they're working on stuff, but they seem to keep it under their hat until a little bit later in the game, and I prefer it that way. I don't like. I mean, don't get me excited about something if I can't get it.
Cough, cough, Fable 4, cough, cough.
Well, Fable 4, they haven't actually said they're making it. Nobody has actually officially said they're making Fable 4. So that's what I like about it, is that I can't get too excited about it until I see a preview. When I see a preview and I get a Fable Woody, then we're going to have a problem, because I'm going to want that game right now, and I'm not going to be able to have it. The time between the time I first see a preview and the time that I can actually have a game, like, the longer that goes, the less I care.
Right.
And I think I'm kind of glad that we all kind of know they're working on it, but nobody's actually officially said they're working on it.
Well, then we have something like, I mean, this is not necessarily first party, but like Bethesda does this. Like, they went from one extreme to the next. Whenever Fallout 4 came out, they announced it. They announced it. It was only like 4 months out.
Right.
But then this past E3, they screwed up so hard with Fallout 76 and were just clamoring for some goodwill that they were like, oh yeah, Starfield, which you knew was in development. Yeah, that's a thing. And oh yeah, that Elder Scrolls that you guys really want. Yeah, we're doing that too. Don't know when it's going to be. Right. And I've heard that even Elder Scrolls 6 is in super pre-production, so like we are many years out from that. Why would you even say anything like that?
Why would you even say anything? I agree. And they actually revealed those at the E3, in which they revealed Fallout 76, and I think they knew then that they were going to have problems with Fallout 76, and that's why they did it, to cushion the blow there. I think
that was the same E3.
It was absolutely the same E3. I watched the press conference. It was because he talked about Fallout 76. The crowd was lukewarm on it, and then he was like, and I just want to show you guys this ahead. And then it was the sweeping landscape shot of Elder Scrolls 6, and then it was that weird, just like space shot of Starfield, and then that was it.
Yeah.
You didn't see anything. There was 2 E3s ago that they showed that. So, like,
oh jeez.
Yeah.
Even still, I've already lost track of when it happens. Yep. I mean, that's that on its own.
I don't care. Yeah, exactly. I agree. I think that you have a weird situation with games because they cost so much to make, they cost so much to buy. At the same time, though, the amount that they cost to buy doesn't always cover the cost. So these companies, they want to get you salivating for them, even more so than like a movie wants you to get excited, So I feel like that's kind of, but it's kind of a tricky window. It's like you've got to get hyped up, but you can't wait too long,
Yeah. And I was just going to say, and lastly, I want to touch on Nintendo. I mean, Nintendo's first party, like I said, they've got extremely strong first party. There's not been, in my knowledge, the last time that I remember any sort of controversy about a first party Nintendo game, about whether or not it's good, was Legend of Zelda Wind Waker.
Yeah.
And that was purely because of the art style and nothing else. And now in retrospect, it's one of the best entries in the series. But Nintendo has this problem where they don't know how to pace themselves and put stuff out at a right time. So the launch of the Switch, you had Breath of the Wild, you had Mario Odyssey, all these other heavy-hitting games are coming out, and it's like, oh my god, these are great. Smash Brothers, shortly thereafter. All of these things that are like, oh man, this is great, and like really built that hype up. But now we have nothing until I'll catch shit if I don't say this by my wife, but Animal Crossing.
I would have said it. Kayla, I would have said it if you didn't. Trust me. Because I want to switch for Animal Crossing. I know everybody out there just like crap the brick, but I want to switch for Animal Crossing. That game looks so much fun to me. But you're right. Animal Crossing comes out, and then it's nothing. It's dead space.
It's radio silence. I mean, Breath of the Wild 2, we know is in development. We found that out last year, but we still have no information on it. Occasionally, some info will leak out, but it's nothing concrete enough to really be like, okay, well, it's going to be like this or whatever. And then there's Metroid Prime 4, which we've known for a while is in development, but
they like restarted it, didn't they?
They did. They had to totally scrap it this past year because it was Bandai Namco, apparently, was the ones that were making it, and they were not pleased with the results, so they brought back Retro to make it, but because of that, they've had to totally restart development on it. So that even is probably 2 years out. I mean, outside of those, we have no clue what the Switch has got outside of what it already has. And you can't ride that wave forever.
You can't. You really can't. And, like, they're also going to run out of things to port because these games are going to just keep getting bigger and bigger, especially with the new consoles. But, okay, so we need to move on. That was a great topic. That brings us to the final segment of our show, what is quickly becoming mine and possibly our fans' favorite part of the show, and that is the Horrible Arena. In the Horrible Arena, here's what we do. Each of the co-hosts get to pitch a video game to you out there, the fans. We have to have a developer, we have to have a title, and we have to have a pitch itself. And we have to do it based on some sort of subject matter. This week's is games as service. We must each pitch a games as service game to you, and then you guys decide where you would spend your hard-earned money, and then we all get very sad that none of these games actually exist. So today it's going to be all three. We're all going to pitch off. Thanks to the magic of the Quantum Studio, we flipped the three-headed quantum coin, and a tiny wizard won the coin flip. So, Neil, you're going to be taking it away today.
Alrighty. So, my game... I want to preface it with this. Everybody who has listened to this and knows anything about my personal gaming preferences is this is not my bag. So, I took that into consideration, but you know what? It kind of led me down a rabbit hole, sort of, and it led me to consider what it is that I really hate about these live service games. And I think I know what that is. So my game would be developed by Bungie. Bungie would do this. They've got experience with Destiny. They've got a little bit under their belt. But I also think that they need to move away from the outer space stuff, because that's all Bungie's ever done, really. My game would be an open world fantasy game at first. So the game would have a main storyline that you would play through and level up and gain experience through, everything like that. But once you finish the main quest, it actually like pops this like, I guess, bubble, that would be surrounding everything and opens up the whole land that you would be able to go and interact with people, go on quests with people, go in dungeons, stuff like that, multiple people playing all at once, that you could be updated with, oh, well, a new faction's moved in town, take care of them, stuff like that. And the actions that people take who have already finished the game, the actions and choices that they make can change the landscape of those who are playing through the first half of the game, which is that online, could be multiplayer, but mostly story narrative driven thing. I think the issue that I've always had is the fact that it's just kind of like always online, everybody doing the thing. There's no real like, there's a thing that you should do, but like outside of that, you just kind of run around, farm and grind. That's what the vibe I've always felt. Maybe I'm playing the wrong live service games, but that's like, if I don't have a reason to do what I'm doing, I don't really care. Some people can equate that to a story, and other people can equate that to a purpose. I think it's a little bit of both of those. And that's why I think that this game that I'm theoretically considering would be good for me, because I would get everything that I want. I would be able to finish my game, have an end point, but there would be optional stuff to do afterwards where I can carry my character over that I did through the single player stuff, kind of like Borderlands 3. You finish the game, and then from that, you can go back through and through the world, anything like that. I'm honestly surprised that Borderlands 3 didn't get turned into a live service game. But, you know, if I think with the structure that Borderlands has, and they turned it into which they are kind of doing some live servicey stuff with their events and stuff like that, I think that's a perfect mix. I'm totally fine with all of that. But yeah, I think I'm going to name my game Project Vast.
All right, so your pitch is finished, right?
Yes.
I'm working real hard not to interrupt anybody today. That was a really good pitch. Can I just say that while my game would solve it differently than yours does, I agree with you that the biggest problem with live service game is you get to a motivational void. And yeah. I like that your game approached it, and I really enjoy the idea of what you're doing in the end game affects other people's pregame. I think it makes something kind of tricky with the a lot of people would be like, I don't want to buy it right away. I want to see what happens. I think on the marketing, that would be real tricky, but I love the idea of that game. I really do. So kudos to you. So that was Neil's Horrible Arena. It sounded really good. I really like it. Now, second up, we're gonna give it over to Logan, aka Knight645. Logan, you need a developer, a name, and you need to give the pitch. And I'm gonna shut up until you tell me you're all done, because I'm really trying not to interrupt you. Okay?
Okay.
All right. So it's floor is yours. Floor is yours.
Okay. Mine is called Blood of Revenge. Okay. It is about an assassin that used to work for the king, but then the king turned on him. So now he's trying to get revenge on the king. And that's obviously the first installment, and since it is a games of service, after you defeat the king, or do not, who knows, you got to play it, then it continues on to more kingdoms, and you continue building and growing as this assassin, just murdering other people for profit.
Who's your developer?
My developer is Bethesda, because the swordplay in Skyrim is amazing.
You do like that Bethesda. You really like that Bethesda,
I really do. Anything with old-fashioned sword fighting, I'm picking.
Okay. All right, that's interesting. It was short, but interesting.
Thank you.
Are you ready for mine, champ? You ready for mine?
I'm so ready for yours. Let's hear it.
Okay. All right. So mine is Project Divine. And my developer is Ubisoft, because nobody does games of service like Ubisoft do. So, what's this game? All right. Here's what the game is. You start off as a fledgling god. You choose what you're a god of, whether it be death, war, love, anything. Social elements and combat elements are completely welcome in this. Once you choose what kind of god you are, you then get to choose. Well, then you get logged into a server. Right? This server is going to have like 30 other players in it. It's going to be based on your level of play. So you're going to input into it like, how often do you play, so that you don't get mismatched with some real hardcores. Now, once you're in it, you get this procedurally generated fantasy world that you and the 30 other players are gods over. All right?
Mm-hmm.
As you play, what it'll do is you'll go into missions, which you'll take human form and go down to the planet. They could be combat missions where you've got to go slay a beast. They could be missions where you have to aid an army fighting another army. They could be missions where you just have to go in and try and get two people to fall in love. You can play peacefully in this game or socially. These events will spawn in the fantasy world just randomly as you're playing, as you're going along. They'll just spawn up. They'll constantly always be like 6 or 7 of them. When you go in and you go down and you do stuff, you're not looting or shooting for like guns or ammo. You're looting for believers. As you accomplish goals on the planet Earth, as you accomplish feats, more people will believe in you. That belief will transfer into the in-game currency, which you will use to craft your god weapons like Mjolnir or the armor of Odin or anything like that. Or you can buy abilities such as like take your god form while on the planet, or simple things like lightning or possession, stuff like that. Now, as you build those followers too, your power will grow. That comes into the PvP section. You will also face off against the other gods who are also hoarding believers and trying to create more followers for themselves, more worship. Defeating them in the PvP arena will give you some of their followers. Now, even more interestingly, as the world spawns these like nations and people, you got to figure out how hard it is to get certain people. Like, are you a love god? If you're a love god, you probably shouldn't be doing a lot of combat. You should be spawning into the social situations. In those social situations, accomplishing feats that way. If you're a combat god, maybe it's all about war for you. But you might find a desert people in the desert. Those people are more predetermined for hardships and war. So you have a little bit more power, a little bit more sway. It's a little bit easier to get those people. Maybe you get them from joy or respect. Whereas the other people who follow you out of fear because you conquested them or your people conquested them. As your power grows, so will your people's power, and they will just on their own start attacking or, convincing other people to join them or whatever. So the question is, what kind of god are you? Are you a fearful god? Are you a vengeful god? Are you a wrathful god? Or are you a divine god? Pitch over.
Okay.
Oh man, Logan does not sound impressed.
Oh, no, I was very impressed.
Oh really? Your lackluster okay at the end was surprising.
I really liked it.
I was really working on that one.
I really
been working on it. I think in some ways it solves the biggest problem that games as service have, which is the motivation void that they get after a certain amount of time.
That's definitely true.
Like, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
So that's it, everybody out there. Those are your horrible arena picks. Project Vast versus Project Divine versus Project. What was it just called?
Blood of Revenge.
Blood of Revenge. Sorry, that was not a power move. I straight up forgot. So those are it. You guys can vote and pick. Please choose vote. You can either vote in the comments below this video. You can find us on Facebook at OldManGamingDH, Twitter at OldManGaming9, and of course, please join our Discord. It's in the description below, and we even have we have a whole podcast chat there where you can vote there and talk about it. Talk about which games you'd like to play. So we accept votes anywhere. My only rule on the votes is they have to be in by Wednesday at 9 a.m. because that's usually when we start recording something for the podcast.
Join the pod. Join the Discord. That's it.
That's it. Yeah. Join the Discord. So that brings us to the close of the show there, Logan. Anything to plug other than join the Discord?
Join the Discord.
Join the Discord. Yes, please, guys, join the Discord. We want to get you guys in there. We want to get you guys chatting.
You can hear all the news. You can chat with us. You can hear my random comments sometimes. And it's a good time.
It really is. I mean, you can influence the shows. You can also get into the Borderlands Trading Post, where Philbilly is really helpful. I mean, really helpful. He has partied up with people who have asked him through comments and given them weapons that they needed for builds. So, like, he can help you with your Borderlands 3 stuff in the Borderlands Trading Post. You can influence my reviews. You can influence our podcast. So please join the Discord. We want to hear from you. We want to talk to you. And that's the best place to do it. So as far as any other plugs, right now we have too many shows to plug. All of them. It's just impossible. So check out everything our channel has to offer. I do want to give a special shout out to one of my favorite shows right now, which is a show that I forced my wife, who is not a gamer, to do. It is some of the funniest audio I've ever listened to. I don't know about you guys, but that comes out on Sundays. There's one up right now and another one coming on Sunday. Other than that, you've heard all the places. As long as you guys keep watching, as long as you guys keep listening, we'll keep making them. Thank you so much, and we'll see you guys next week.